Today's true tale of the paranormal is short, but very, very sweet. Welcome to my home. Won't you join me? We'll pour your favorite beverage, light a scented candle, and prepare yourself for today's true tale of the paranormal with Nefer Kefri, your hostess with the ghostess. It's a sad story. It focuses on my mom. My mom passed away in 2008 due to complications from a staph infection, which is a severe infection of the blood. And this was caused by a UTI, and bacteria backed up into her kidneys. Once it hit her kidneys, it went systemic. Now, her last week was spent in hospice care. We found an absolutely wonderful hospice company to work with here in Spring, Texas, where we live. And so she was receiving her last 5 to 6 days of care from them. It was a very tiny hospice unit. It was the second floor of an assisted living facility. So first floor was all elderly people who need a little bit of extra help. And the top floor was hospice care. They could come from anywhere. They didn't really come from the downstairs inhabitants. So we were there and I began to develop a little cough. Went home. Next day, both my husband and I were full-blown sick, and it seemed to be the flu. It was heartbreaking because I had the wherewithal to call the hospice facility to tell them what had happened because their staff was really small. They only had about 6 to 8 patients in their ward at a time, and they had one staff member for every 2 patients. So that meant there were anywhere from 3 to 4 employees on that ward at any given time. And so they had told us, because the staff is so short, short numbered, if anything were to happen, and the hospice company had told us that's a major plus. That's one of the reasons we went to them. But what we didn't consider is that when someone in the family gets sick, we couldn't go see my mom. My dad was there with her. Thankfully, my dad did not catch it. It ended up being the flu. It sent my husband to the ER. He ended up with pneumonia. He was fine after, a little bit of antibiotics and extra loving care. But I was sick as a dog. I couldn't go see my own mom. So I missed out on that absolute final goodbye. I wasn't able to see my mom during the last 5 days of her life at all. Couldn't speak to her on the phone because she had gone pretty much deaf by then. So she could hear us if we were in the same room, but she just couldn't hear over the telephone. So here I was, really, really sick, extremely sad and depressed because I couldn't say goodbye to my mom. And, I started praying and I was just like, please, give my mom a sign, let her know I love her more than anything. And I truly, truly regret that I can't be over there. But, I couldn't make the staff sick. They had all these other people to take care of. And plus, not only were they taking care of the people who were receiving the hospice care, but they were a spiritually centered business. They ministered to all the family members. So they would talk with you, they would pray with you, whatever you needed, they were there. They were amazing. So couldn't go see my mom. I prayed a couple days really hard for a sign. And then I got a really weird phone call. It was the day before she passed. And it was at night, and I don't remember what time. It was some ridiculous time. It was like 11:30 at night or something. And I thought for sure, seeing the caller ID, that she had just passed, because they will call you the moment your loved one passes away in hospice care if you're not there. But no, it was one of the staff members, and she told me, she apologized profusely for calling so late, but she said something very strange has happened. Mom was sleeping There was no issue with my mom at all. But they needed to run something by me. And I'm like, what? You know, my mom wasn't on any medication at the time. She was no longer taking food or liquids by mouth at all. Because, you know, she was getting ready to depart the earth plane. And they told me that one of the staff members earlier in the day flipped out because she saw from the nurse's station, which was in the middle of the hallways. It was a little bit like a mini hospital. The nurse's station was in the center, and it went off on 4 short wings, each of which had 2 rooms. And so they could see down all 4 short hallways. And the staff member around 4 p.m. that day freaked out because she could have sworn she saw a dog go into my mom's room. And I'm like, a dog? And I said, and my mom's okay? She goes, oh, yeah. She went running in there because she was convinced somehow a dog had gotten into the building, into that ward, because the floor below, remember, is senior assisted living. I never double checked with them to see. I assumed that facility allowed them to have pets. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's what they assumed. It must be someone's pet from the 2nd floor had somehow gotten up there. So she goes running into my mom's room. There's my mom and my dad. And Dad's like, dog? No. We see no dog here. No dog came in here. No one. Well, what are you talking about, you know? And she was perplexed. My dad was confused. She goes off thinking, was that some sort of weird hallucination? What's going on? Then at around 11:15, which is just like 15 minutes before this other hospice staff member called me at night, she herself, the caller, was again at the nurse's station. She said, I was drinking from my water bottle, so my gaze was kind of down toward the hallway your mom's in. And she said, I would bet my very life I saw a dog go walking into her room. And I was just like, this is crazy. And then she, being a little more open-minded than the previous staff member, said to me, if I were to describe the dog to you, and I'm like, huh? And then it hit me. We had a dog when I was growing up. We had one dog and we had several cats. And when we had my dog, at that same time, we had 3 cats. Now, my dog at that time was an Australian Shepherd, same breed I have right now, completely different dog. And otherwise she'd be like 50-something years old. And anyway, we got Desiree when I was about 13, 14 years old. She passed away when I was 30. She lived a long, healthy life, suffered a massive stroke, went deaf and blind, and we had to, euthanize her, unfortunately. Well, that was my first thought. Oh my God, maybe it's my dog Desi. So I said to her, sure, go ahead. Tell me what this dog looked like. She said the dog was probably a little bit taller than knee high. And it was variegated in color, from white to tan to light brown to dark brown, mottled, floppy ears, long, beautiful, fluffy tail. And I was sitting there on the phone, the tears just, it came like crazy. She was describing my dog, Desi. She'd never seen Desi. We had no pictures in my mom's hospice room. There were no family pictures in there. There were no pictures of pets in there. There was no way in the world this nurse could make this up and have the description fairly closely match my dog. And I told her, so that sounds like my dog Desi. And she says, do you have her now? And she asked me with a slight quiver in her voice. I was like, no, Desi passed away over 20 years ago. And she just went, sharp intake of breath. And then she said, I knew it. I just knew it. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they knew we were really, really sick. And she's like, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm feeling well enough where tomorrow I think I can go see her. And it had already been like, we'd both been sick for 4 days. The next day would have been the 5th day. And I think with the flu, by the time you get up to the 4th day, you're technically no longer contagious. Don't quote me on that. Use Dr. Google. So I figured it was okay to go. And she did clear us to go see my mom. So, she was like, sure, come the next day. It should be okay. We just won't get near you, So the plan was to go sometime late in the morning to go see my mom. And I was really thrilled I'd be able to see her one more time. Unfortunately, that was not to be. I got a phone call at about 1:20 a.m. She had just passed. A staff member had been in there with her. So I never got to see my mom again. So the next day, we didn't go to the hospice ward. We went to the funeral home to arrange for mom's cremation. My husband went with me. He was still really, really feeling awful. Forced himself. I highly commend him for his active service toward me and my family that day. And we, of course, made the final arrangements and all that. Well, about maybe close to a week went by, and I went with a picture of my dog to the hospice ward, and I asked the staff, here's a picture, look familiar? And there were 3 nurses on duty at the moment in the nurses station when I went, and one of them just looked at me and she went, "That's the dog!" Completely legit reaction. She was not faking. The other 2 kind of freaked a little bit. They went, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Oh my God, the dog was absolutely gorgeous. Yes, that's the dog." I'm like, "That's my dog, Desi." And I had prayed and prayed for my mom to have a sign that she was loved, that everything would be okay. My dog, Desi, was the sign. And I knew she was there because I had absolute proof and validation from one of the nurses. So I didn't even need to talk to the second nurse. They ran a copy of the picture of Desi on their copier there, and I left. And a day or so later, the other nurse called me to confirm. She too said that was the same dog she saw walk into my mom's room. I think this video answers a couple of really popular questions that a lot of people wonder about. Number 1, do animals have any type of an afterlife? I would say yes. I would say yes. Just based on this experience alone, there are many, many, many other experiences you can read about online. Tons and tons of them. The other question being, do animals have a soul? Now, I know when I was growing up, I was extremely upset to discover that the Catholic Church had determined animals do not have a soul. Therefore, they can't be saved. They don't go to heaven. They're just poof. They're just, when they die, they're gone. There's nothing because there's no soul in the animal. Right. Don't even get me started on the church. But I was raised Catholic, so I can talk. But it was one of those situations. Anyway, yeah, there's that question. Another question a lot of people wonder about, where do animals go when they die? If we assume they have some sort of an afterlife and have a soul, where do they go? Obviously, they hang out with us, because I was praying and praying those 2 days prior to my dog showing up, 2 or 3 days, and asking for a sign, and asking for a sign to let my mom know it was okay to go, that she would be safe she would be protected. She would be, you know, she would be with Christ. She would be with our loved ones who are already there. And I think because animals' souls hang around their human loved ones, Desiree heard me. And in life, Desiree was an extremely intelligent dog. Extremely. I could go on and on about stories about all the awesome things she did. Actually, I have another story involving her that has a paranormal theme. Oh, I got to remember to share it. Amazing dog. That's why I got a second one. Dear little Magic. We love her so much. But she was holding the door open for her siblings when the brains were being handed out. You know what I'm saying? But she's so sweet and so loving. And if I were given a choice between sweet, loving, affectionate, or intelligent, I would choose sweet, loving, and affectionate any day. She's a wonderful dog too, but in completely different ways. So, you know, I do think that our departed pets do stay with us. I do think they are capable of hearing us. And when we need help, they are there. They really are. So that is today's short but very sweet true tale of the paranormal. I hope you've enjoyed it. I ask that you please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and please hit the notification bell. I'm hearing from a lot of my friends over on Facebook that they are not receiving notifications of when I post. You will not receive notifications as a subscriber unless you hit that little bell that's part of the subscription button. You'll see subscribe and a little bell. So you hit the subscribe and it'll do its little thing. Then you got to go back and hit that little bell. Otherwise, you'll never know when I post and you'll miss all the other awesome content I'm creating. So please hit the notification bell. Another big thing, please drop a comment because they do help get my videos out in front of new eyes, and I really appreciate it. Even if it's just a little heart, you know, a little emoji, that's fine too. Just as long as something's there with your YouTube handle to tell the algorithm, hey, this person cared enough to drop this here. We're going to show this to 100 more people, or however it works. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all very, very much. This is being filmed on December 9th, 2024. I may not have a story next week just because I'm having eye surgery tomorrow, cataracts. Fun times. But I'll be back the following week for sure. I have lots of other content you can look at if you haven't caught up on everything yet. And I just wish you all happy holidays if things happen and I don't manage to post between now and the new year. I appreciate y'all so much. Thanks a lot. This is Nefer Kefri, your hostess with the ghostess, and you've been watching True Tales of the Paranormal.